Today's podcast is brought to you by Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. You can find new episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can also find a same Thurrott sitting next to me. One day, the camera's going to switch and there's going to be like Brad Pitt.
Younger and better looking, yeah. Exactly.
Maybe.
That'll be a good day for everybody.
How you doing? You doing all right on that side of the...
Whew. Yes, I think we need to address the timeline controversy.
Go ahead.
So yesterday, did we talk? No,
No, we didn't.
Later.
This happened
We
after.
didn't even talk about this yesterday. So, yeah, because this happened later in the day. Okay, sorry, I'm in contact with Mary Jo about this topic. So, yesterday, Microsoft put out a blog post about a new dev channel build for Windows 10 inside a program, and my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, there's nothing going on here. There's no need to write about this. And then I went back later and I read it more closely, and I was like, oh, what is this? There's an unclear paragraph, Windows Insider blog, right? Why would it be clear? About timeline being not, they don't use the word deprecated or canceled or killed or anything like that. But what they say is that if you're using a Microsoft account to sync timeline activity across your PCs, this won't work anymore. You need to have an AD account, which is the commercial account, right? So it's unclear. It doesn't say it's temporary. It doesn't say it's going to change. I mean, is the AAD thing temporary? Will that get rid of, be gone in a little while? I'll just remind people that timeline activity is available on mobile through a variety of channels, but the primary method used to be a feature of the Microsoft Launcher feed, whatever that thing was called on the side. I think you could still impact timeline if you use like a mobile version of Word or Excel or something like that, I think. But basically, they've gotten rid of that part of it. And as of now, they've gotten rid of it in timeline in Windows 10. Now, granted, there are multiple ways to access your parts of your timeline, right? If you use any of the Office Office applications, if you use the online applications on the web, if you use the Office app, if you use office.com, you'll see a list of your most recent documents. Now, it doesn't cover non-compatible documents, text files, things like that, PDF, even though, those are, in fact, compatible. Certainly doesn't cover images or websites. Your web history is available through Edge if that's what you use, blah, blah, blah. And to me, this is pointing to they're getting rid of timeline. It's just another way to do something where most people are not using it and have other ways, are using those other ways. I think that's what's happening. So I had to write this article. Microsoft is probably killing timeline because, again, they're never clear about anything.
Right.
So they clarified this blog post so that no one would have any more questions. And the clarification is a single sentence that says timeline and all of your local activity history will still remain on Windows 10. So that says that timeline is still going to be in Windows 10. It's just that it will only be like the information from that computer. So
that's how I interpreted that update. Same way you just said that it's they're killing the sync.
Yeah, they're killing the sync, which is kind of the point. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so there you go. I guess most people probably just use a single computer. I'm trying to devil's advocate this thing.
Yeah.
And it is fair to say Microsoft has a too rich history of providing multiple ways to do the same thing, especially in Windows. So I don't know. It's not a problem. Getting rid of timeline is not the issue. Although, because it's a productivity feature, I have a small problem with it. But it's not a feature I use for sure.
Yeah. The one, and I deal with it today. The one challenge I still have is moving data between computers, which is where the sync actually kind of helped. I quite literally have a folder in OneDrive, my personal OneDrive, just called Transfer.
Yeah, nice.
And so when I need to move things between PCs, what do? I drag it into that folder and it automatically
I've not yet implemented this. In fact, I may write an article today, and I'll make it like a general article so everyone can read it. It basically amounts to like, I need your help, right? And what I mean by that is not like psychologically, although God knows I probably need that too.
Think we can make arguments.
Yeah, but But with content that I might write in the future and where I should focus and blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And I have all these ideas about different stuff. But one of the things I write about sometimes is workflow. And one of the things I've thought about doing recently is basically what you just described, again a different way, which seems to come up a lot. Which is you can use OneDrive to sync 3 folders between your computers, right? Desktop, documents, and probably pictures. I don't remember the other one. And I never do that. I just ignore that feature. However, I do use my desktop as a scratch space. And right now there are only 3 files on it. It's like a screenshot I need for the book, some notes I took when Leo told me some stuff about Linux, and then the start of an article. And all of those are temporary. Obviously, that's why they're there. I use the desktop as kind of a scratch space. I know not everybody works exactly like I do. But it occurred to me, I could do what you're doing by just syncing desktop, and have that thing always be common. And then anytime I drag something off of the desktop and archive it, which is what I do, in OneDrive, it will be removed from the desktop everywhere. And like that might actually work. The only thing that's held me back is sometimes I'll download lots of stuff. So to the desktop. So for example, like Dell will announce a bunch of new computers and it'll be like documents and lots of images and some videos. And I don't necessarily want to archive that stuff, let alone sync it between all my computers. Right. And hopefully it's only there for a day or two, but sometimes it's, up to a week. And, maybe I just need to work on that part of it, but it's not a bad idea. Right. Because you want more than just Office documents.
Other things that aren't a bad idea are checking out Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. We're highlighting this week the Craftsman of a Computer Language. That is the first episode in this podcast series. I don't know why series, whatever. It's just a podcast. It's the first one. It's a great one. We call it Pulse Picks because that was one of his personal favorites. You can find it in links in the post, which is down below the video, or in the description somewhere, depending on the application that you are using, or you can just go check out Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott on all your podcast platforms.
I only aside from the fact that he's influenced my life greatly, Anders Heilsberg, I only have one Anders story, and that was it was probably Tech Ed. It could have been a PDC back in the day. It was something like that. It was a while ago. And I was in the press room, and he came to the doorway of the press room to talk to one of the PR people about where he was supposed to go because he was having meetings. And so I was with Mary Jo, and I was like, oh, man, there's Anders. And she's like, go say hi. Go, because she knows I love this guy. And I'm like, okay, I got to go say hi to this guy. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, I'm a Paul Thurrott. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm a big fan of your work. And I'm like, and I said, I'm going to say something to you that I never say to anyone from Microsoft. I am also a big fan of your work.
And then did some music play in the background. You guys walked off into the sunset.
And then we embraced.
Yeah.
No. He's such a nice guy. He's just such a good guy. Okay, that's all.
Anyways, you can go listen to that. It's a good episode.
Yeah, he doesn't mention me in the podcast. But anyway.
Later today, there'll be a post on Thurrott.com. I do this with every service thing I get. Tried to play some games on it just to see.
Oh, yeah. So you got the AMD version?
Yeah. So the short version here is, the chips, if it was a 5000, it'd be even better, but it's still not a slouch. It's an
it should be great. Yeah.
8-core, 16 thread on a laptop.
Yes, and AMD handles the core thing slightly different than Intel, right? Their chipsets typically have a lot more, like double or more of the cores, I would say, on comparable chips. But yeah,
the short version is, if you don't want to watch the video and read the text, is that it's not a gaming laptop. Nobody's shocked by that. You can play Fortnite, you can play Warzone. I wouldn't buy it for that though.
No. And I kind of did the same thing with, I think it was the Razer, which is an Evo PC. And of course, Intel has this new, very capable graphics, integrated graphics chipset, right, with these new computers. And not really, right? You don't buy it for that, right? I for casual games, it's probably okay. Older games, whatever. But that needs to be like number 8 or 10 on the list of reasons why you have the computer.
Yeah, I ran some basic benchmarking, and the CPU, not all that surprisingly, killed the Surface Laptop 3, but it's quite capable. So from that aspect, so anyways, we look for that. What else happened yesterday besides Timeline Gate?
What did happen?
A whole lot. Google Assistant gets some updates. There was
big thing. I'm sorry. It's just if you're an iPhone user, you can use the Find My Phone thing, which iPhone users already have a Find My Phone, so I don't know.
So when I saw that headline come across, I was like, "You're going to use the Google Assistant as I Find My iPhone. It's going to take you to GooglePixel.com. Be like, here, you can find it right here, and it's just like, go buy your own new phone. You don't need the old one."
Well,
I'm just
I appreciate the consistency and capabilities across the platforms, I guess. If I'm just being polite about it. I don't know.
if you bought an M1 Mac, you can now run Windows 10 via the
Yeah,
Parallels.
Windows 10 with an asterisk.
Yeah.
So Windows 10 on ARM, right, which is not generally available for anyone to purchase. So technically, the only way to do this right now is to get an insider build of Windows, the insider preview, which is not supported, which wouldn't bother most people. But the problem with that is you kind of have to babysit it. You could actually pretty much run Windows insider builds, perpetually, right? I mean, I don't think there's any hard stop ever, but you have to keep the thing updated, right? And Windows insider builds or channels, I guess, are updated a lot more often than stable versions of Windows, which is not necessarily what people are looking for. Plus, I mean, what's the point of running Windows 10 on the Mac in a virtual environment? It's to get to that 1 to 3 apps or whatever it is that you just have to have that are only on Windows for some reason, which has got to be rarer and rarer these days. And there's a good chance that Windows 10 on ARM won't run those same apps, folks, right? I mean, that's one of the big problems with Windows 10 on ARM right now.
I feel like for Parallels, the M1 has to be a great move because that's sort of how they came about, right? The Parallels existed so that you could run Windows on a Mac, and then they moved to Intel and was like, yay. And now they're back to being on their own thing. They're going to be like, yay.
Well, and if they can get x86 emulation going, that would solve the problem completely, right? So for right now, it's a little weird. It can only emulate ARM-based operating systems. And I don't know much about Linux on ARM, but surely there are several options at least there. And then Windows, I don't know if you folks have been paying attention to the whole Windows 10 on ARM thing, but it's not great. So whatever. If you want a way to run Notepad and Paint in the Mac, I mean, you can just load up on the RAM and the storage and
run your basic
updated insider build. Have fun.
Your basic text editor. So there you go. There you go. Hey, it is Thursday. I woke up today, thought today was Friday, and was sorely disappointed when that didn't turn out to be true.
I know.
But tomorrow is, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Other good things involved Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. We'll catch all of you right back here tomorrow, and have yourselves a wonderful Not Friday.